Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Kim Duramo from the American Institute of Mind-Body Medicine, and welcome to MindBody TV. I'm super excited to be here today. I'm going to share today about raising your set point for joy, raising your set point for how much you get to receive, how much joy, freedom, love, abundance, like fill in the blank with all of the things that are really innate to our nature, that make us come more fully alive, that allow our bodies to be as vibrant as possible. For those of you who don't know me, I am a physician who has really changed my entire practice more to assist people in living fully instead of like preventing people from dying. Totally different take from being in the emergency room to now sharing mind-body medicine. And what I have seen on a very regular basis is miraculous. And I love being able to share this and assist people in really releasing so many of the things that we're holding that block health. So welcome to everyone who is here live, and always I love comments and questions, so bring it on. And welcome to everyone who is listening to the podcast or to the replay here. When we think about our joy set point, I want to actually look at some of the things I wrote down about this, because there's so much that came to mind that I was like, oh, this is so rich. So many things that we don't really understand about how our internal system works, how our brain kind of can control everything we perceive, everything we allow in, or the things that we block out, the things that we don't allow or don't let ourselves choose. And, so many of us have this awareness, like everything is right here for me. It's not in the future. It's right here, right now. But, well, I don't see it. I don't taste it. I don't touch it. I don't feel it. It's not really here. So what is that? How can I access it if it's here, if I don't perceive it and I don't know where it is or how to get it or how to let more into my life, more health, if you're experiencing illness or pain or fatigue, more wealth, to have resources and, beauty and freedom, more love, so that what's available in your relationships can really come to its highest fruition. A lot of the things that we're living are a program. We're in a program, and that's based on our set point. How much joy do I get to have? How much freedom do I get to have? Hello, everyone joining. Jennifer, Susan, Joanne, Nicole, woohoo, and Patty, and hey, Randy. So Brene Brown is a really great speaker and author, and she's spoken on this. And it was something she said a few years back when I had my daughter. I had reverberated something she said about this set point for joy, or set point for love, and that we only get to have what we imagine for ourselves, or what we believe is possible for ourselves. And so, having just had my second child, I remember back when I had my first one, and for those of you who ever had a child, or who've ever had anything really awesome happen to you, like all of a sudden, you realize that the amount of joy or love that will come in with that very suddenly is like massive, like incomprehensible amount of love and joy. And if you're not ready to expand into that, you sort of bump it out. So in life, it's like, oh, this amazing person loves me so much. And you're like, why does he love me so much? There must be something wrong with him. And you kind of bump that person out, or you reject them. Or an amazing job, and you're like, wow, and I'd be making so much money. And like subconsciously, you sabotage it. Why? There's all these subconscious programs that determine your set point for how much money you get to make. So you either won't apply for that job, or you apply and you mess it up, or you receive it but you decline it, or you didn't even read the post for that job because you were looking on a different page. Your set point is that powerful, and it will bump out all of these opportunities that allow this fluidity to come in. So when I had my baby, so much love and so much joy comes in. But what happened in my mind was like, oh my gosh, what if something happens? Oh my gosh, what if I lose this precious little being? Oh my gosh, what if I mess up this precious little being? Oh my gosh, what if I do this, or what if I do that? And it all of a sudden was this mental like putting the brakes on how much love I could let myself receive, how much love I could let myself experience. It's like a shock to the system. And because I had heard Brené's, she has a TED Talk. I read some of the stuff she wrote. I've heard her speak with Oprah. I was really kind of aware of this concept. And I was like, I get what's operating here. What would it take for me to allow the release of that set point, the releasing of that ceiling on how much joy and love I get to have, so that I can experience this beautiful little baby and just be in total fluidity with this, without the scary thoughts of like, oh my gosh, what if this bad thing happened? Or what if I lost this person? Same thing happened when I met my now husband. It was like, I was so happy and joyful and in love. And then it was like, oh my gosh, what if he doesn't come home, or this accident happens, or what if this, or what if that? And so we do this. The mind will come in to make sure you don't go beyond that set point. So even if you have all this joy and love, it'll like dampen it by the fears that come up. So you're not really enjoying the process. Especially when I had both children, it happened. It was just like painful, the thoughts and the fear that would come up. And I was like, all right, I've got to let this in. So if you're ready to let in more of what you know is available to you, whether it's like freedom, time, energy, money, the effortlessness of life that's ready to be received, here we go. One of the things that helps us expand our set point is witnessing our pain, being aware of it, but not buying into it. So when I would start to have all these fear thoughts, it's like, okay, deep breath in and deep breath out. What is life asking me to meet? And especially, and I've talked about this before, if you want to parent from love instead of parenting from fear, or same thing if you're in a relationship, if you want to relate with that person from love instead of relating from fear, it will require you to meet that pain. What would be the pain of this loss? What would be the pain of like, oh my gosh, if this person died, or if this person rejected me, or if I messed it all up? And so I took myself to that end conclusion, which was pretty intense, especially with my children. And I just allowed myself to breathe into it. Like, okay, this unthinkable pain of what would be or could be this loss, right? Because if you're going to have a child, you're going to have to face that you could have a disappointment. Things might not go the way that you would like them to go. But if you can meet both of those pieces, you can experience the whole thing in neutrality. So even just 2% meeting that pain, or the guilt of like, oh my gosh, if I, dropped this baby, and I know these are some of the other thoughts like the moms will have, because I've worked with moms who've had like OCD over this, that they're so clenched down to like, because of that set point, that they like can hardly function. Oh my gosh, I'm driving down the street and every time I hit a pothole, I keep imagining like, did I just hit a baby? That, like a new mom. And I remember so many moms sharing that with me. So I know it's like, there's something happening here. But if I could meet that experience, like, oh my gosh, the guilt, I would never forgive myself. I would be in hell the rest of my life, because I'd be so miserable and just like punish myself for the rest of my life if I ever did anything wrong. Can I just meet that? Can I find a 2% forgiveness of like, could I be willing to live with myself? Could I be willing to let myself off the hook? Could I be willing to let myself have a break and let myself be in fluidity with that outcome? And I'm not saying like, oh, I'm totally fine if this thing happened. It's not. It's just like a 2% ease around that outcome. That is enough to release parenting from fear or relating from fear, so that you can expand into more joy and receive more love. So it made a huge difference for me with my daughter when these fear thoughts kept coming in, like, oh no, this bad thing could happen. And it was like, all right, could I find just a little bit of ease with that like, it will be okay anyway. That's when you enter unconditionality. I will receive my life unconditionally. This thing happens, or that thing happens that I think is bad, or that thing happens that I think is unacceptable. Could I just soften around that so that I'm willing to accept all of it? I'm willing to embrace all of it. I'm willing to receive all of it. And when I was willing to receive all of it, the things I thought were good, the things I thought were bad, I could really receive love and receive joy from a whole new standpoint, not from that conditionality of, I hope it doesn't go away, or it's going to be good as long as blah, blah, blah. I'm getting a lot of great comments, so thank you. Evie says, experiencing set points, using breathing exercises to relax, but there seems to be something I can't quite put my finger on that's creating a barrier to get beyond. So what I'll always do if something like that comes up where it's like, I don't know what this is, breathe into the physical sensations. What do you feel physically when you experience what you're calling the set point? What do you feel physically in your body? Is there like pressure on your chest? Breathe into that. Is there a heaviness on your shoulders? Is there like a stirring in your belly? What are you actually feeling? And then when you can breathe into that, you allow that energy to release. So I had, oh, where is it? I had this note. Let me see if I still have it in here. Yes. Okay. Okay, there's a story. I'm trying to remember where I heard this, but it'll come up in a minute. And this man, I think it was Brene Brown, actually. Yes, because I was listening to her when I thought of this topic, where this man, she was studying people who have really allowed joy into their life and studying people who were in extreme grief. So she really studied grief and human pain. And this man said, you know, I lived my life subdued. I was married to my wife, but I didn't let myself get too excited, because then I had this idea that if anything did go wrong, I wouldn't be too disappointed. I wouldn't be too hurt. I wouldn't be too devastated. So I never really let myself have that much joy and that much love, but I kind of felt protected because then I knew I'd never have that much pain. And then he said, so his wife died tragically. There was a good car accident. And he lost his wife suddenly. And he shared with Brene, I wish I had leaned harder into those moments of joy, because it didn't protect me from that pain. It didn't protect me from that disappointment. There's nothing I could have ever done to protect myself from what I'm feeling right now. And so for years and years, decades, he tried to protect himself from that pain or disappointment by not allowing too much joy. And he says, I wish I'd leaned harder into the joy, so I would have experienced that, because there's no protecting myself from this pain. But what I want to share in this video is we don't need to protect ourselves from pain. We don't need to protect ourselves from grief. It's not this inevitability of, well, if you're going to feel joy, you're going to feel pain. It's just par for the course. And hey, it's worth the ride because joy is so great. And hey, then you're going to have the pain. I used to live in that duality, and it'd be like unthinkable amounts of pure love, like really experiencing a high, but then crashing down moments into like unbelievable grief and despair. And I thought, because I had a psychiatrist or psychologist tell me at one time, well, some people live in here. They have about this much joy, they have about this much pain. And then there's people that live out here, and like that's where you are, fully alive, and you'll have this much joy, but then you're going to have this much pain. And I was like, is that really my fate? Is that really, I know people get like diagnosed with bipolar who live that fully. And I never really quite bought into that. There's something else going on. How can I be fully alive without that dualistic ping pong game of, immense joy, immense pain, like this quote unquote, it's pseudo joy, it's conditional, it's going to end. How can I open up instead to something more unconditional, something more authentic? And that is what I'm sharing here today. We don't need to protect ourselves from like negativity or from disappointment or from pain or despair or grief or loss or whatever. When we can break through into that unconditionality of, I am willing to show up for all of this in fluidity and ease, no matter what that looks like, no matter what that feels like. I am willing to move fluidly through all of these experiences. That is the gift in this sort of like the 2%, right? The 2% resolution. Would I be willing to meet deep grief, despair, pain? But when I do it with awareness, when I do it with appreciation, like have you ever gone into your deepest despair and appreciated the depth of it? Appreciation doesn't have to be la la la, I'm so grateful and thankful, or wow, I'm really in pain, but I at least have a good hair day, or oh my God, my life is really miserable, but at least I have a friend who loves me, like trying to put ice cream on top of poop. I had a conversation with Debbie Ford one time years ago, and it was Ariel Ford, her sister, and that's what she said. It was this really great way of describing what that like positivity thing is. It's like you're putting ice cream on top of poop. Can you just sit with the poop and be in stillness? Can you just sit with the poop and be in appreciation of how intense it is? That is enough. It's enough to allow the whole thing, the duality, to come crashing down so we can emerge into pure joy. And I'm not sure there's a lot of people who have really been experiencing it that way. I mean, no, there aren't a lot of people who've been experiencing it that way. But I mean, I'm not sure I've encountered a lot of people who've really been experiencing it that way. A lot of people can share about it or talk about it, but they're still kind of pointing at it. And I was in that place for a long time. I'd have glimpsing moments of it, but I'd kind of bump out of that state of neutrality. For more on that, there's a video that I posted on the front page of my website, drkimd.com, that talks about these different octaves of consciousness where we can reside and what it means to really be in that neutrality. Neutrality is not that like contentment of, well, I'm not too high, I'm not too low, I'm kind of just in here. That's contentment. Nothing wrong with that. It's totally different. It's an expansion into pure joy, pure love, unconditional freedom. And that's what I'm talking about here today. So when we like raise our set point for joy, it's really about dissolving our set point for joy. So I guess I could retitle this discussion. I'm going to look at some questions. Jennifer says, foreboding joy. Yeah, it's like this foreboding, like, yeah, wow, I'm in so much joy, but the party's going to end and then I have to go back home. Heather Pert, this is so good right now. We're in the process of our dream of buying a house, and I've been wanting this for years. Every time I get close to making a decision, I have nightmare fear in my chest. Yeah, perfect. So can you breathe through that? Would you actually choose it instead of running away from it? Would you choose, yes, this fear, realizing that it is the catalyst to this breaking open and dissolving the joy, love set point? Would you be willing to invite it by choosing yourself fully? I had someone to sign up for the Embracing Health program with me. We just started it yesterday. It was amazing, very, very powerful and beautiful how everyone in there is ready to open their heart and ready to like receive into that stillness. And someone had said, like, as soon as I chose it, all of a sudden there was so much fear. As soon as I, clicked the button and completed that transaction, so much came up for me. And so I actually shared a video in the group, like, yeah, that is exactly what happens when we begin to choose ourselves fully. And so making that choice is the catalyst. And now it's like, oh, all the bats flying out of hell. Will I continue my yes even when that happens? I had someone ask me yesterday, well, what about then when it doesn't go the way that it should go and then I'm not happy? And we're still living in judgment. We make a choice and then we think it should go this way if it was the right choice. So it's like right and wrong, good and bad. What about if I'm just willing to choose my choice because I'm willing to choose my choice? I'm willing to give myself that gift. I'm willing to give myself that affirmation. I'm willing to give myself that yes. Yes, Kim, you are free to choose this. And then whatever it creates, be willing to receive. You don't need to make it wrong. You don't need to make it good or bad. There is a Chinese proverb, and I'm going to read this, about this good and bad, right and wrong thing, where this farmer, here it is. He's, using this horse to help him till his fields. And one day the horse escapes off into the hills and the neighbors are like, oh my gosh, you lost your horse. This is terrible. You've had such bad luck. And the farmer's like, yeah, that might be so, maybe, maybe not. And then a week later, the horse comes back and he brings 2 horses with him. So now he has all these extra work horses and his fields start blooming and flourishing. And his neighbors are like, wow, you have really good luck. And he's like, yeah, maybe so, maybe not. Who knows? And then the farmer's son, a week later, is trying to tame one of the new horses, and he falls off the horse's back and breaks his leg. So now everyone comes around like, oh my gosh, you have such bad luck. This is a terrible thing. This is really bad. And the farmer's like, maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. Who knows? And weeks later now the army comes in and takes all the boys from the village who are, able-bodied young men, and they leave behind his son. So they spare his life because he had this broken leg that wasn't yet healed. And so it's a matter of like, whoa, was that good luck? Was that bad luck? So everything on the surface is just, you know, you're gonna interpret it through the filter of your perception. It isn't good or bad, it just is. So when you make that choice and then you say yes to your choice just because you chose it, can you let yourself receive what happens as a result of your choice and just say yes? You know, you can always make a new choice, but you can't go back and like berate yourself for that choice, or, oh my God, I made the wrong choice. I got to buckle down because I shouldn't let myself choose so freely again. I should really monitor all of my choices and think about them very, very hard. And then we live in this contracted space where we like can't choose freely. One of the participants coming to my retreat went on to the site where we're having the event at this beautiful B&B. She's like, oh, I'm thinking maybe this room, or maybe I'll take that room. And, you know, I don't really know which room is going to contribute the most to me. And it was, I had thought of this proverb the other day and sent it and said, let yourself choose. And it was her question about like, what about when I do let myself choose and then it doesn't go the right way? So it's like, we're still living in judgment. What if I let myself choose, let myself receive everything that comes as a result and move through it fluidly without making it wrong, without judging myself? And, you know, you can always allow new things to come through. Evie says, dealing with vestibular imbalance and vertigo. Oh, this is really cool because I talked about this in the Embracing Health call yesterday, and what this actually means, what vertigo really is. It's a recalibration as we come into a higher frequency. But if we're not willing to move into that fluidly, it can be really disruptive. Like if the actual symptom itself starts freaking us out, like, oh no, you know, I have this dizziness or I have this ringing in my ear, that puts in a stress response. It creates resistance in the body. We can't fluidly move into our next evolutionary step. I've been getting so much better the past couple of weeks listening to your MYB course. I have a course online called Mind Your Body. The last 2 days, I've gone backwards, and I'm wondering about the set point for my health. I've been dealing with this since 2013. Maybe it's harder to get past a certain level than I realized. It's not that, it's just whatever's in place that you're bucking with that like next level of your own evolution into freedom. And, you know, sometimes we don't really perceive that we're at a higher frequency than where we used to be. Especially where we're in this society, we're always looking forward. Where do I want to be in 10 years? Where do I want to be in 5 years? If you instead look back at like, where was I a year ago? Where was I 20 minutes ago? Usually it's a way bigger jump in consciousness than what we've ever imagined. So I look at like my prior self and how I would think, or how much harder it was to choose myself fully. And I'm like, oh my God, and that was only a year ago. Like I've come so far in that 1 year. It's like decades beyond what I would have imagined. So you're not going backwards. It's just the way you're interpreting it. So when we're ready to move through to that next level of our evolution into freedom, there can be resistances. So Evie, where are you from? Share a little more, Evie, like where are you from and how old are you? What can happen is, we've already made the conclusion that we don't get to have it that good. We've already made the conclusion that would be too painful, right? Like the fear that came up for me when I had a child. Oh my God, no. That's bad, I can't handle that. But if I just relax my body and like bring in light, or bring my attention to like the space between the stuff, bring in light and like let that move through, it will dissolve whatever I'm in that moment. And so then you can move really fluidly into that next frequency. So you don't have to start thinking about this set point as like a problem to fix. Oh my God, I have this set point, or all these ideas and beliefs that are keeping me from moving forward. Let all that go. Our awareness of it and willing to be present to it is all that's required for us to like easily move beyond it. So for yourself, Evie, and I love that name, just let yourself know, oh, just my awareness of even the idea that I could have held this set point. So like feel into your body, like, oh, this set point, this ceiling of all the collected beliefs. Everyone can do this together. Just close your eyes and breathe. All the collected beliefs and ideas and conclusions and memories and experiences, teachings that I've bought into, that I've had, that are creating this ceiling. And then just take 3 breaths. Wow. That ceiling feels so solid. Take another breath. Let it go. What would it take for me to just be present to it without needing to try to make it go away or chop it down, or just, wow, just notice it and appreciate it, how intense, and take a deep breath. I wonder what it would be like for that to resolve and dissolve on its own. How amazing would it be to just allow it when it's ready to go, when it's ready to release, when I'm ready to move forward, to let myself do so fluidly. What would it be like to let myself expand so fluidly that I don't even notice the expansion? And that can be something that can really resolve the vestibular imbalance. Vestibular is like the inner ear. It's your nerve that goes into that way inner ear, and it deals with balance and hearing. And yeah, so when we're recalibrating, that can be triggered. And if you're allowing this fluidity, just a few breaths, noticing what you notice, it can really take care of that and allow it to equalize very fluidly. Randy says, this is perfect for me as I'm trying to move forward with creating my blog and my creative projects that feel good to me. But there's so much fear of what if it doesn't go well, or what if it takes too long, or I can't make enough money. Yeah, so your set point, those things have been set up to keep you in a certain level of working hard, in a certain level of dis-ease, not having ease, not having fluidity. So it's all about the conclusions we've made. The Instant Elevation program is another program I have online at drkimd.com. But that one is really beautiful to, just watch even like a 5-minute video and learn how to move through these things fluidly, playing with this energy system that we have and allowing those things to dissolve. It is up to you. It is your command, and you can allow that and receive so much more very effortlessly. And in the Instant Elevation program, I set it up specifically to assist with this process. It's really beautiful, and it's available for all of us. She says, what if I don't make enough money? I would love to be able to move through this in a fluid way and receive all the creative inspiration without being so afraid of the fear or the loss that could happen. So try the practice of like what I shared that I did when my daughter was born, and then a little bit more again when my son was born, when those fears would come up of like, oh my God, I can't even imagine how devastating it would be to lose this little being. It's because your heart is starting to open so wide, and you're letting in even more love than you ever imagined, right? Like having another child, or having this amazing expansive business, and like sharing your voice. When I could just presence my fear, I could move beyond it. And one of the things that really helped for me, and you could do this in a journal exercise, I shared with my friend Greg what was coming up, like the fears and exactly what they were. Like I wouldn't even speak them. That's how unthinkable these things were. And when and I wasn't even speaking because I was texting with Greg, when I shared with him and like spelled it out, it was really hard to even bring myself to, because in the thought frequency, it's one thing, but to actually verbalize it or spell it out is like, it becomes even more tangible. But it was a really beautiful process for me to have Greg receive it, where I shared what these fears were, what the thoughts were. They dissolved. I told him the next day, it was like 95%, it was completely gone. And then this maybe like 5% where it was like, barely even a thought in the back of my, back archives of like, oh yeah, that's okay. It was there somewhere in the ether, but it didn't create that visceral response or that trigger or disturb me at all. It was like, just like any other thought floating around there. This is here, this is there. It didn't have any effect. So pretty amazing just to have given it, released it that way. Jennifer says, yes, I'm here too. I thought I had found solutions to my chronic eczema with all I'm doing, and now it's back. I feel so frustrated, and I will not return to prednisone. So there's a conditionality. It's like, I am free as long as I don't get that skin condition back. And so can you just receive, okay, eczema, and what is my body releasing through my skin that are all these things that I'm really ready to release in my life? Because energetically, your body can release. The skin is the largest organ. And so I would, the prednisone, if you're complete with that, and you know that the steroids are not, the suppressing the eczema is not what your choice is right now. Maybe in the past that was the right choice. And right now it's like, that's not where I'm at. Let your skin express all the shit you're ready to release. And can you celebrate it and say, oh, My skin is on my side for my personal expansion. What is my skin releasing that I couldn't even begin to release energetically, mentally, emotionally? Can I allow this and support my body in doing this instead of needing to suppress it, or instead of being so frustrated by it that I gotta just make it go away? Evie says, I'm 60, living in New Hampshire and not loving it. Thinking about going back to North Carolina. I've been a sculptor for years, and my condition has kept me from getting into the studio in a meaningful way. Okay, so let's go back to that. Where'd it go? Oh, Evie, you're ready to evolve into a new paradigm. And at 60, it can be a little bit more, there's like, maybe sometimes it's like a little bit more is locked in. So it can be a little more jarring to like expand into that level of like freedom and joy and ease, what we're talking about here. There may be relationships to let go, like I'm ready to let this person free. It doesn't mean you don't see them anymore. It just means you don't take them on or help them, or like, you know, sometimes, okay, for you, it's the opposite. Someone is helping you. So it's almost like codependent, or I don't want to get into that, but instead of coming into your own strength and your own, I know who I am, and I can receive from this person for assistance, but not they're doing it for me, or they're taking care of me where I don't think I can take care of myself. There's a little bit of that going on. So could I release that old way of relating and form a very different way of relating with this person where I'm in my center and I receive from the knowing that I'm whole and complete and can participate that way. Evie, I also married a guy that reminds me so much of the man you were talking about, living so carefully. I'm a spontaneous grocery store dancer. That's awesome. And have definitely suppressed that since getting married 10 years ago. Yeah, so start dancing again. You don't need to take care of him. You guys are kind of, yeah, maybe like you're playing small so that he isn't disturbed by your grocery store dancer spontaneity of that effervescent aliveness you're ready to have. So just be gentle. Don't make him wrong for it, because you both, you know, for whatever reason, participated in this dynamic unconsciously. But as you awaken for it, it can be a dance of inviting him to live beyond his limitations as well. Vesna, this is so pertinent to our evolution. I've been running into this teaching almost every day for the last little while. It started with reading Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now. Amazing how people are waking up. Thank you for this. Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. Jen says, thank you, Dr. Kim. So informative and freeing. Jennifer, yes, I don't want to fight with my body. Elaine, I have constant fears triggered by loss of money, losing everything. Not really a reality, but it's a real fear causing anxiety at a high level. Yeah, so this is like the old world falling away, the linear world of here's what's possible, here's what's not possible. Here's how money works, here's how you need to do money. And it's kind of crazy because that already doesn't exist anymore. Like, if you save more money and invest wisely, you'll be set for life. It already isn't true. And like, we know this on so many levels, but yet we're still trying to fit into that linearity and like, okay, maybe I just got to tweak it and I got to do the right investment and save the right way or save more money, or no, it's okay. Living in that rigidity and restriction is not the same thing as the true opening that's ready to happen for each of us. So when I talked in the beginning about that duality of like high-low, that's the game that's ending. And it's ending, it's already ended. We just haven't necessarily come into the new calibration of what's here. But it's ended with money. It's ended with doing relationship like that. It's ended with careers. Like all of our, even our healthcare system, everything is, those old structures have fallen apart and they're no longer working. So it will take each of us being connected with our guidance within to allow the new model to emerge, like cryptocurrency, right? It's already here. It's not like, well, I can't even fathom a system that would be like fair and fluent and you know, where we can communicate, you know, instantly and effortlessly, and it would be a fluid, fair exchange. Well, it's already been conceived of and it's already been created. It just hasn't been mainstreamized yet, but you know, that's happening. Evie says, I love him. This makes so much sense. I'm shaking listening to this. Thank you so much. It's really beautiful. So when there's love, we are willing to invite others to play along with us. We're not willing to stay small so that we don't erupt them into awakening. We're willing to let them feel their pain. We're willing to allow them to feel their despair, to assist their awakening, because we're willing to choose our own. So I hope this has been you know, inspiring for all of us And Emery says, oh, I just figured this out. Ha ha! Yeah, we're all like popping into, just like popcorn, popping into awakening at different levels and different times. And it's the process we're in right now, where like the corn is popping, the pot is hot, and it's happening. So allow this to assist you. Allow this kind of this concept of like, oh, if I had this set point, doesn't mean make it a problem, right? Because then we're like, oh, so I got to figure it out. No, no, no. Just my awareness of it can allow the dissolution of what I was previously holding on to. All right, Heather says, this has been so helpful, thanks. I just told my husband to book a flight and pick out a house. Amen. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. I'm at drkimd.com, so be sure you're subscribed if you would like more. We did just start the Embracing Health program, and we'll be doing that likely, 6 months from now or so. So that's something we'll do ongoingly if that is something that speaks to you. That's on the site as well. And I have a live retreat here. A small group will be in Durango. I have found a beautiful, beautiful, idyllic place by some water and, a stream, and it's just amazing where we're going to be doing this powerful work. So I'm super excited to invite anyone who is ready for that. I guarantee that for all of us, it will be powerfully life-altering. And if that speaks to you, it's at drkimd.com/retreat. And I just welcome you into your heart and your own expansion and whatever that looks like. Emery says, thank you. Jen says, I've been seeing a vestibular physiotherapist for the past 3 months for vertigo. I was putting it down to the 4 car accidents I've been involved in. Yeah, those will wake you up. Suffering whiplash. Too many have been grieving the loss of my dad, brother. Time to move on to my new set point. Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, it's also like to just dissolve the set point so that we move more and more into the ultimate fluidity, into the unconditional freedom, into the pure love, which is infinite. So like dissolving those set points. And yeah, synchronicity, woohoo. Evie says, sharing so much love back. And Susan says, you are what I needed today. All right, so much love to everyone, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. Bye.